Thank you. When I was a little girl, around 7 or 8, I remember seeing my mother staring at herself in the mirror and pick every part of her body apart. To me, my mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. She's tall, thin, athletic, and has the most vivacious smile. I've always been in a bigger body. So when I saw my mother look at herself and pick her body apart, I remember thinking to myself, if she doesn't think she's beautiful, and if she's not good enough, I will never be good enough. Without even knowing it, my mother passed along her negative body image to me. And I've spent a lifetime trying to overcome it. Now, I don't blame my mother. It wasn't her fault. Her mother had passed on her negative body image to her. And that had only been reinforced by the images we all see on TV, in magazines, and especially nowadays on social media. And the narrative that we have as a society, that you have to look a certain way and be a specific size to be considered beautiful. Growing up, all I wanted was to be considered beautiful. I wanted somebody to tell me that I was good enough. I wanted to be accepted. So at 10 years old, I made it my life's purpose to achieve a thin body. I believed that if I achieved a thin body, suddenly all my problems would be solved. So I started dieting at 10 years old. I did all of the latest fad diets, from Atkins to Weight Watchers, you name it. In high school, I developed an eating disorder. And in college, I became addicted to drugs and alcohol. I was obsessed with exercise. But even at my thinnest weight, I wasn't any happier. I definitely didn't love myself. Well, in 2014, while I was working as a fitness instructor, I happened to be on my lunch break and I went into this restaurant and saw this poster for a powerlifting competition. And on that poster was this woman with a heavy barbell on her back. And she looked so strong and empowered. I knew I had to see what powerlifting was all about. So the next weekend, I went to my first powerlifting competition, and I'll never forget what I saw. I saw 2 women who are now my teammates, one who weighs 100 pounds, squat over 200 pounds. Yeah. And another woman, a larger woman, squat close to 400 pounds. It was in that moment I started to believe that my body could have a different purpose than just being thin. It could be strong. So 2014, I started powerlifting. But unfortunately, powerlifting didn't solve the way I felt about my body. In powerlifting, there are weight classes. And the heaviest weight class is for women over 198 pounds. And it's called, are you ready for this? The super heavy weight class. Right? I don't know about you, but I was like, I'm not going to be called a super heavyweight. Right? So the first 2 years of my career, my powerlifting career, I made it my mission to stay out of that weight class. I weighed myself every day. I measured and tracked every single thing that went in my body. And I completely lost my social life because I was so afraid to go out with friends and family because I thought I was going to gain weight. Well, the first 2 years, I didn't have many accomplishments either. The first year, I made some progress, but by year 2, I had completely plateaued. I wasn't getting any stronger. I was actually getting worse. Well, my breaking point happened in 2016. I was preparing for a competition, and I had to cut about 10 pounds. So I started dieting months before. increasing my cardio and decreasing my calories, but regardless of what I did, the scale did not move. My body was done. So in that moment, I had two choices. I could accept that now I'm a super heavyweight powerlifter, my body's getting bigger, and maybe that's okay. Or I had to figure out how to lose 10 pounds in 24 hours. So what did I do? Well, I told myself, Randy, you're not a quitter. And I hopped on our trusty friend Google and searched how to lose 10 pounds in 24 hours. And I did it. But those 24 hours were some of the darkest moments of my life. I didn't eat or drink anything. I sat in the sauna to the point where my body stopped producing sweat. I was so dehydrated. And the next day I had to be driven to the weigh-ins because my blood pressure was so low. Well, that night while I was laying in bed, unable to sleep because I was so thirsty, I started to think about this purpose of trying to be in a thin body and how that had led me to where I was. Here I was, a fitness instructor, preaching self-love in my classes. But I didn't love myself. I hated myself. I was a complete fraud. So in that moment, I knew I had to let go of this purpose of achieving a thin body and learn how to love the body that I'm in. I had no idea how I was going to do that, but I knew I had to figure out how. So I made a commitment to no longer cutting weight for a competition. Well, the next year in 2017, as a super heavyweight powerlifter, I became the first woman from Hawaii to squat over 500. I'm not done. And then over 600. And I broke 8 world records. The next year, in 2018, at an even higher body weight, I broke 7 more world records and became the 4th strongest female super heavyweight of all time. But none of this would have been possible if I didn't first accept that my body was never the problem. My soul simply needs a bigger body to call home. When I recognized this, my whole life changed. Suddenly, all of that energy that I had been putting into hating myself and trying to change myself because I believed I needed to be somebody else in order to be worthy of love and acceptance, suddenly had a different outlet. I was able to leave a 9-to-5 job I hated and start my own career helping other women. I was able to find that love and acceptance I've been searching my whole life for in my bigger body. This is the gift of self-acceptance. Unfortunately, there are many misconceptions about what self-acceptance really means. Many people believe that when you accept yourself, you just give up on your goals and your dreams and stay stagnant in your life. Right? Because when we accept ourselves as we are now, we lose the motivation to better ourselves. But the truth is that when we accept ourselves as we are in this very moment, We clear up all of that space, that physical, mental space, and we can use that energy towards impacting and changing the world, towards becoming our best self. Because self-acceptance is a necessary step on your path to greatness. You cannot achieve your full potential without accepting who you are right now. So how do we get there? How do we start to accept those parts of ourselves we've spent a lifetime hating? Well, a few days ago, just a couple days ago, I was preparing to step on stage and share with you all about the power of changing your thoughts. And while I still believe that's very powerful, I believe I'm being called to share a deeper truth. We have to stop judging ourselves based on who we are on the outside. We have to stop identifying ourselves based on the size of our bodies, based on our jobs, our relationship status, or the amount of weight I can lift. I was prepared to show you pictures of my powerlifting accomplishments until I realized I've spent a lifetime trying to justify being in my body. Powerlifting was just another way for me to validate that it's okay to be in my body. Just as when I was younger, my constant pursuit of weight loss was the justification. I want you to know right now that whatever size body you are in is perfect. Because you are so much more than your body. You are the soul and the energy and the spirit that lives within. Ladies, we have to stop looking outside of ourselves for scraps of love, acceptance, validation, and security. Because we all have a treasure within us that is infinitely greater than anything the external world has to offer. And the path to that treasure is through self-acceptance. But what is also made possible is we have the power to break this generational cycle of negative self-body image. We have the power to stop passing this along to our girls. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of talking about my body. Because just like all of you, my body is the least interesting thing about me. Thank you. Thank you.